Picture yourself playing 2014's indie darling, This War of Mine. Things are not going well in your group of survivors. One of you is sick, another is hungry, and you've just lost a third member to soldiers in the construction yard. If you don't find medicine soon, you may lose one or possibly both of your remaining people. But then you look at the list of places to scavenge from, and you remember one. An unguarded house occupied by an elderly couple and their child. Suddenly, you're struck with a dilemma. Do you hope that there's something in the construction yard where Pavlo just died that you can use? Or do you steal from these defenseless people to ensure that your survivors are safe and fed?
I'll bet that those of you who are watching will have a very different reaction to this choice. Some of you will agonize over it for a whole minute before finally making your decision, unsure if you're making the right call. Some of you will rob them, feeling very adamant in your survival of all cost mindset. Some of you will groan as you remember that you already robbed them the first chance you got. Because come on, how many games give you the chance to steal from defenseless old people?
Regardless of what you thought of the choice, it was put there to elicit a specific reaction out of you. Moral choices aren't just putting games to add another line on its store page, they are putting games to elicit a certain kind of reaction, one that varies from game to game.
So yeah, in video games, you usually experience a ton of different moral choices, whether it be good or evil type of options. I mean, take for example, Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, you're the Jedi or you're the Sith.
Pretty black or white.
Yeah. In Fallout 3, you have the option to nuke a small town full of innocent people to get a sick penthouse apartment.
Or you don't have to nuke the entire megaton. You can just help out Sheriff Lucas Sims and
hang out with Moira.
Right. And
help her with her book.
You get a handyman.
Yeah. Who tells you bad jokes.
Terrible awesome. Jokes.
Yeah, the two cannibals are eating a clown. One cannibal turns to the other and asks, "Does this taste funny to you?"
Spoiler alert for Fable 2. At the end of the game, you're faced with three options. It's you can either wish for everyone who died building this like gigantic evil spire to come back to life, which is basically they were forced into it. You can wish for your family and your dog to come back to life, because the villain like straight up shoots your dog towards the end of the story.
No, can't handle that.
Or third, you can wish for a shit ton of money. So it's like if you wish for one of the two things, it's like, okay, if you wish for your family to come back, that's understandable. If you wish for the loads of people to come back, that's like the good thing to do. If you wish for money, you're just an asshole. Like you're just
it's wrong.
I just want money.
So wrong to wish for money. And then you have stuff that are sort of less clear when it comes to moral choices. Like you have like Fallout in New Vegas, there's the New California Republic.
Okay, they got they're kind of a mixed bag in terms of morality. They did massacre a bunch of people that one time, but like
You live and you learn.
I mean, compared to the Brotherhood of Steel, though, to be fair, it's like, do you want to be the Brotherhood of Steel or, New California Republic? But speaking back to New Vegas, there's also the Legion. They're the brutal authoritarians who just, kill people in the name of Caesar.
There are only two good factions in Fallout, and those are the Minutemen and the Railroad, and the problem is all the cool factions are evil.
So what do you plan on doing about the jet problem in our community?
How about the settlement problem? Another settlement needs our help. I'll mark it on your map.
So Fable 3, one of the only good things it does do is at the end of the game, you're faced with you take over the kingdom by the halfway point. You beat the villain. And then he's like, okay, by the way, the reason I was such an evil asshole is because there's a coming war that's going to destroy the kingdom, and everything I've been doing has been building the royal treasury towards that. So good luck. And then he just leaves.
Good luck.
And it's like, do you want to make your citizens happy, knowing that they're going to die in the coming war, or do you want to oppress them so that you can build up your treasury and actually be able to like defend them when the war happens? And that's like one of the only interesting moral dilemmas in that game. And it's kind of ruined because you can just make pies for 7 years and build up the royal treasury yourself. So this brings us back to This War of Mine, because like its decisions are sort of like they're it's kind of obvious what like the right decision is, like the morally good one,
Right.
but it's not necessarily the right thing for your party. So that makes them like super difficult.
Yeah, a greater good type situation.
Like there's this guy who comes up to your house and it's like, hey, my brother is missing in this area. Can you help me look for him? And you could, but your guy could get seriously injured and you wouldn't be able to use him to like clear rubble in your house that day or craft anything. So productivity would be down and he could just straight up die. Those are things to think about. There's also a guy in this place called Sniper Junction who's like, he has this baby that's sick and he's like, I need to get into my house. Please unlock the door to my house. Don't take my stuff though. So you can go to his house and you just have free reign there. You can just take whatever you want, or you can just go back and get him. And he'll be like, thank you, take these precious gemstones. So you get the gemstones, but if you were to just rob the guy, you would have found those anyway. And you would also get, like, I don't know, a teddy bear or something. I didn't rob the guy, I'm not evil.
I'm nice.
I'm not a bad person, obviously.
I mean, I did let one of my people die in the game, so I'm not a good at that game.
Not a saint either.
Yeah. No. I guess that kind of leads to sort of the idea of sacrificing, sort of your own morals to survive is kind of what the War of Mine kind of displays. I mean, yeah, sure, the good reason or the good idea would have been to help the people, but to help myself and to survive this apocalyptic nightmare, I can't be sort of the savior of everyone's life, like in Fallout, where you can be the wandering savior,
The last best hope for humanity.
Yeah, wasteland.
We're live here at PAX East. I'm here with Pablo Milhovsky from 11-Bit Studios, and we just got a demo of the game called This War of Mine. Now, this is less of a game and it's more of an experience, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We are rather aiming to give you a tool to experience war on your own, to see it from your perspective than a game, because if you saw the teaser, it breaks the scheme on the level where you are seeing soldiers fighting. You expect kind of Call of Duty experience and then bang. No, it's about the other side, it's about the real casualties of war, it's about civilians. And this game is the tool, like you described it, to experience everything on your own. In This War of Mine, we are not making up mechanics, we're just translating what we know about war into games language. Of course, we've made a pretty extensive research on the topic, and when the war surrounds you, you have to fight for water, food, you have to struggle to get antibiotics if you get sick, you need to take heavy decisions. For example, if two of your friends are hungry and you have just one antibiotics, what do you do? So this game shows you how difficult and extremely challenging on emotional level surviving the war is.
Yeah, I really like this. We were talking a little bit. You said one of your biggest inspirations was Papers, Please.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the opportunity to meet Lucas, the creator of Papers, Please, on GDC. We talked a little about the trend of empathy games, the games working on emotional level, the kind of experience that lets you see things you couldn't see in movies or in books, because you're not a spectator, you are in the middle of experience, and this is what This War of Mine is. Yeah.
According to a study called Mirrored Morality, an exploration of moral choice in video games, players often feel guilt for behaving in antisocial ways. If a player does something antisocial after deducing that is the right thing to do, they will typically feel guilty about it. And for a game like This War of Mine, that's exactly the point.
And it seemed pretty clear that, in Papers, Please, you sort of, and then move on, and move on, but then you also, God, was it? You can deny people access into
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't
the country,
have
yeah.
paperwork, but then it's like,
You can also just deny them because you don't like them.
Yeah.
Or it's like I remember there was this one woman that came up to me in my game who's like, okay, there's this man named whatever, and he is my ex-husband. He is trying to follow me, and he is going to kill me.
Damn.
Please don't let him into this country. And then you let her through because she has the proper paperwork, and her ex-husband comes in, and his paperwork is all correct. So it's like, if you let him through, you're going to be fine, but he might kill her. You'll never know. But if you don't let him through, you'll have helped this woman, but you will get a pay cut, and your family will be able to afford less food to eat.
Oh, shit. So it's like the War of Mine where you have to make either moral choice or survival.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like a survival game, but in a dystopian society.
So basically, yeah, like any RPG, you can be Daggers McGee.
You can be Daggers McGee, you can be like Blastor Mastor, you can be any funny name that you want.
Jackass,
Jackass, yeah.
And you basically don't have to take those sort of tough moral decisions. You basically just do whatever you want because that's what the role play allows you to do.
So this is a bad situation for a game like This War of Mine, where it's like they want you to feel the guilt and the pain because like Pavel said, they're trying to get across like the emotional turmoil of war, which is going to be hard for someone who's role playing Jackass to appreciate. But it's like This War of Mine actually has like a step that it takes to sort of mitigate the effect of like role playing a specific character.
Right. All right. So if you go too long in This War of Mine without eating, you basically become hungry, and if the heat goes out, you are cold and you will die.
it's sick and die.
You get sick and die, right? You're right. They become sick and they freeze to death,
and you die.
And you die. Plain and simple. That's if you don't manage your character, of course. And if you go too long without sleep, you become tired because that's logic.
And then lose productivity and can't just do the things that you need to do because, well, you're sleeping.
Yeah, you tell your character to make a shiv, and the character's like, hell no, I'm going to sleep.
I can't use my hands because I'm too tired.
Yeah.
But those are basically sort of your staple survival game kind of almost cliche inputs.
Yeah.
So I guess then that brings up that these characters, little known fact, actually have sympathy stats. Okay, so like take example Bruno, when he gets into a situation, he kind of doesn't feel as much empathy for what happens. He just kind of, well, that's unfortunate kind of deal. But not in like a normal tone, more like he really just generally doesn't care.
I also had this one lady in one of my playthroughs who I robbed the old people, and I checked her bio, and she just said like, we're old anyway. Screw them.
No,
They
We
had
need
their
that
chance.
stuff more.
I got more life to live.
Oh yeah, but for characters who are actually have a great deal of empathy, basically a normal human being, they will become sad. Say you rob those old people, well, some of your characters will be like, that was really shitty of us, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And they will become physically...
Like, they'll get a status effect that says sad, and it'll have a very similar effect to, like, the actual physical status
Right.
effects.
It's almost like they actually have depression at that point.
Yeah.
Basically, it's War of Mine. There's really no escape from emotional turmoil of war. It basically does what it can to simulate every hardship and emotional triumph your character goes through because war sucks.
Yeah. It's, the characters, like, act as sort of how the game wants the player to feel.
Right.
Which, in that way, it's sort of, it's like a safety net for like players who don't play the game in sort of the intended way, so that the game can still get across that war is like messing these people up.
Right.
Even if the player themselves doesn't feel like guilty, their characters will. The player will be like, "Oh, this is hard for these people."
Yeah.
They are people.
Yeah.
So it kind of invokes sort of the player to feel sympathetic for these virtual characters, basically.
Yeah, it's
depending on the player, of course.
it's not perfect because like a lot of players still will be like, it's a collection of pixels on the screen.
It's true.
But it's still like it gets the point across better than just expecting the player to feel guilty for what they do in this virtual space. It's like even if the player doesn't feel guilty per se, they'll be like, "Oh, this is having a bad effect on these characters."
Right.
So that it'll still get across like the information that it's taking an emotional toll on people.
Okay. Cool.
How about the settlement problem? Another settlement needs our help. I'll mark it on your map.